Let's take a look real quick at some of the properties of exponents. So we'll begin with one that you should already know, which is called the product of powers property. And that basically is saying if you're multiplying two powers, you can add the tops. And they have an example over here where it says 2 to the second times 2 to the third is 2 to the fifth. Now, if we expanded those, this would make sense because this first one, 2 to the second, would be 2 times 2. And if we expand the next one, which is 2 to the fifth, 2 to the third, you'd have 2 times 2 times 2. So how many 2's are being multiplied? 5. And that's why the answer is 2 to the fifth. And the shortcut is to just add those top numbers, which are called exponents. All right. Second one is similar. And it says the quotient of powers property, and that's where you can subtract the tops when dividing them, as long as they have the same base. So for example, we have 2 to the fifth over 2 to the third. And if I expanded that, 2 to the fifth is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 over 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2. And so when we have division, like simplifying a fraction or reducing, you can cross out matching numbers that are on the top and bottom. And we're left with just 2 to the second power. But the shortcut would be just to subtract those numbers. Now the power of a product property. This is one where if you have two different numbers like 2 and 3 and they're raised to the second power, then you can just split that. So it's 2 to the second and 3 to the second. Or to give another example, you have 3 times 5 squared. This is called the power of a product property. We can split that up so that it ends up being 3 squared times 5 squared, which makes sense. Like if we just worked out this example, 3 squared is 9, and 5 squared is 25, and 9 times 25 is 225. The top numbers, we had 3 squared is 9, we had 3 times 5, which is 15, and 15 squared is 225 again. So it is the same answer either way. It's just a demonstration that it works. Similarly, you could have the power of a quotient property, and that's where if you have the power of a fraction, you can make it the power of the top and the power of the bottom, the power of the numerator and the power of the denominator. You can split that up. Power of a power property, to me, this makes sense leading back to our earlier rules, because if you had, say, 2 to the third raised to the fourth power, that means I have 4 of those 2 to the third things. That's what this 4 out here means. This 4 means I've got 4 of these, 2, 3, 4 of them. So I've got 2 to the third times 2 to the third times 2 to the third times 2 to the third. But remember, from our first one we looked at, the product of powers property, if you're multiplying powers, you can just add the tops. So if I add 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, there's a shortcut for that. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is like 3 times 4. And that's the shortcut for this one. You multiply. Finally, we have the negative exponent property. And that's with one like, say, 3 to the negative 2 power. And the way these work is you just put a 1 under them, okay? And then we're going to, put a 1 under them, and then we're going to flip it. So the 1 ends up top, and the 3 squared ends up on the bottom. So it's like the reciprocal or the inverse. And so the answer would be 1/9. So in a nutshell, those are your properties of exponents.